Town Board meeting for May 12th, 2020. And with that, we'll have a roll call from the clerk.
Councilmember Hogan.
Here.
Councilmember Newman.
Here.
Councilmember Leclerc. Here. Councilmember Donahue.
Here.
Supervisor Kuzniers.
Here. And we also are joined by counsel for the town of Monroe, Carla Bittner off camera, and we have the town clerk also with us off camera. So just board members are in the viewing range. So with that, I'd ask everyone to please rise for Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. First order of business here, agenda item number 1 is approval of minutes. These are the minutes for April 28, 2020, which was an audit meeting. And I think all members of the board were present for both of them. We also had the regular town board meeting on that day as well. If anybody would like to move the adoption of the sets of meetings.
Motion to approve.
Second. Any comment, questions, or discussions on them? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimous. Item 2 on this evening's agenda is set future meetings and workshops. I do not have any at this time. I don't know if any of the members to schedule something. No. Item 3, I just want to give a brief update on COVID-19. We continue to update the Monroe website with updates that are by Saratoga County. The most recent update for today is already posted. Just want to a synopsis indicate that there will be a Facebook Live event tomorrow, Wednesday, May 13th, 2020 at 10 a.m. This event is intended to answer questions from our county residents related to COVID-19. It's about an hour-long event. It'll be hosted by Saratoga County Office of Emergency Services Facebook page, and featured during that live event will be Nash Alexander, who is Chief Operations Officer in the Wilton Emergency Corporation, Peter Bardunias, Senior Vice President of Community Advancement for the Region Chamber, Penelope Heritage, who's Director of Saratoga County Animal Shelter, Kathleen Medic, who's an RN BSN, Director of Patient Services for the county, our own Christine Orr, Superintendent of the South Glens Falls Central School District, and finally, Todd Pincus, who's President of the Saratoga County Chamber of Commerce. All the questions can be submitted by clicking the link that's available on our webpage. I want to highlight our underway reopening. Not only Saratoga County, but the state of New York has released its plan for reopening, and it includes metrics that regions must meet before reopening can begin. And again, the metrics are listed on the town of Monroe site. Saratoga County is stressing that businesses cannot reopen until an executive order from the government permits it. And the county continues to take action to address the governor's plan to reopen New York, working with other surrounding counties here in the region to reach the metrics. Once this reopening begins, it will take place in phases, and not all businesses will be allowed to reopen right away. It'll be a phased-in process, and again, we can view that phased-in direct on the town's website. There's also a county dashboard that has data available as far as what's happening around in the county towns, and that is updated daily. Here in the town of Monroe, we continue to have town offices closed to the public. However, town government is up and functioning as our residents expect it to. We've got all our departments operating. We have department heads in. We're still under the governor's directive of 50% reduction in staffing. We're meeting those requirements. Even with the expansion or reopening, I should say, of regular hour in town's transfer station, which we began last Thursday. I know that our residents are very appreciative of that because there's so many more home on a regular basis, and they're doing a lot of work around their homes and need those services that our transportation provides. So we're back up, we're fully there, and hopefully they're running smoothly. We have the necessary staff there. Last Thursday, the town of Monroe held a mask and hand sanitizer drive here at town offices. It was about a 3-hour event, even though we had billed it as a 2-hour event. From 10 to 12 p.m. we had individuals lining up on town property, and at the point that by 9:30 a.m. we had traffic onto Route 197, which obviously is a traffic hazard, and so we actually opened up the drive half an hour early, and we had a phenomenal turn. Our staff and volunteers did a great job of keeping traffic moving. We were handing out masks to everyone, even non-residents, if they request, because we want to take care of not only our residents, friends, but also our neighbors. And it was very successful. And I just want to point out the staff that were involved in that. Did an incredible job. We had Pete Olszewski, who's our rec leader, and his staff, Bruce Sergi, who helped with setup. He actually stayed to help with the handout. In the assessor's office, we had Riley McKinnon, and in my office, Lisa Sperry, who helped set up prior. We were also taking calls all day. Leanne McCabe, the town clerk, was very helpful because my staff was out participating in the mask drive. And then Jeff helping set up outside, also food calls in my office. Lisa participated. Also want to thank those that were out handing the masks and hand sanitizers out, and they included Town Minister Leanne Cronin, also her Senior Assessment Clerk, Riley McGigan, Larry, my secretary, and she was able to round up just about all of her family as volunteers. So special shout out to Tom, Ben, and Kate. We appreciate them volunteering their time. We had Trombley participating from he's the Deputy Commissioner, Fire Coordinator for the Office of Emergency Services at Saratoga County. And then finally, directing traffic, which is probably the most important job to make sure they got hurt getting in here. We had Deputy Patrick Dono from the Saratoga County Sheriff's Office, and especially want to thank Sheriff Mike Durlow for providing that assistance through his office. So it was a very successful event. I'm hoping to have another similar event in the near future if we have enough masks hand out, and once we receive those, we'll get them filled, and again, everybody will be invited to participate with that. Also related to COVID-19, I spoke with Senator Jordan. She's doing she actually asked if I'd be interested in supervisor of town of Monroe, on to a letter calling on the governor to reconsider the inclusion of Clay County, Rensselaer County, Sioux County, and Washington counties as part of the capital area, so that the metrics don't keep us from opening any longer than we have to. The fact that we're all lumped in the capital region is not helping us any sooner. So hopefully we're successful in the senator's call for having that reevaluated. So I'll be signing on to that letter shortly. And that's all I have for COVID-19. Do you have any questions?
No.
Not, I will move on to item 4 on the agenda, water department requests. Jesse, our water superintendent, made me aware of essentially it was an emergency repair regarding the Farnham Road sewer station, which is the one that's in the industrial park. If you recall, we've done repairs to some backup pumps. We always had a spare on shelf, and the one that is, there's 2 in the pit there. One of them went down. He asked for approval to get that repaired or to purchase a new one. We priced out a new one. A new one would cost $17,000, and we could do a rewind on the existing pump for $5,278. Under the circumstances, that's probably a no-brainer. And so he has been working with Marshall from Emmerich's Pumps. They have gone and ordered the parts for that, so that'll be getting repaired, and you'll see a voucher on that in the near future. And that'll be the spare one in case we need it down the road. So it's a little bit of insurance for about, a third of the cost. That's all I have for the water department. Item 5 on this evening's agenda is the highway department. We do have a couple of items that we need to address. The first one is, I know I've made board members aware as we've gone through the HVAC upgrade down there, which is in conjunction with the roof replacement. We installed 5 new heaters, stainless steel heaters, and obviously that requires additional natural gas compared to what was installed in there. And what we've come to learn, and I talked about this at a previous board meeting, is that when the new highway garage was initially designed, the service to that garage was not large enough. And so instead of increasing the service, they modified the plans to the garage to eliminate the draw of natural gas. You didn't have the necessary heating and ventilation that was entered for the new highway garage. Fast forward today, that's a problem for us because now we have a line, we've increased the requirement to appropriately heat and ventilate that building, and we still have the same size line. That we could, with a program where we could schedule the 5 different heaters coming on at different times. They didn't all draw at the same time. An engineer found running that scenario is that it wouldn't meet the minimum standards for airflow garage. So that means that is not an option for us. So what that means is we have to, in fact, go with a larger size gas line into the garage. So that's an additional cost for us. It was in the budgeted cost for the highway garage upgrade or repair. And we are looking at, and these are estimates. I haven't got the hard numbers from National Grid, but I can tell you the ballpark. If National Grid were to do the trenching and all the other work, we're looking at about approximately $9,243. If the town does the trenching, we'll be looking at $7,745 to do the upgrade. So I guess it'd be helpful if the board wanted to give me their thoughts on which direction you prefer to go in. My recommendation would be to have us do the trenching, save a little bit We do have that we can draw on for that upgrade. But, you know, it's an expense that we hadn't built in original project upgrade. So everybody's okay, and I talked with Paul about this. We'll recommend that you do the trenching, and then when we get to hard numbers, we'll need a resolution to approve the work by National. So I'll keep you on that. And I have, if anybody will be involved in engineering numbers, the metrics, I'm happy to share them with you.
Are you able to buy the pipe for us, the cost and what National Grid paid for too?
Engineers on that.
Curious.
Yeah. I mean, I was on the phone on a conference call with their government related people. They were very close to the threshold. I think it was like 2 million BTUs, and with the system that we added, we were up around 2.4. So we were over the threshold by 400 BTUs. If I understand correctly. So that's not what we want to hear, but we want to do it right in my recommendation.
Is this a design deficiency? And I know it's been a long time. It's frustrating when we go and we have to step back. We go to step back. There's no recourse on it.
At this point.
This just needs to be. Yeah, I know.
All right, so there's that. We had our final construction meeting during the HVAC on May 7th. So that work's done. The only thing we have left to do, and we can't do that until the roof goes on, is where they're going to lay through the roof instead of out the sidewall. But other than that, everything has worked out great. I encourage anybody to go down and take a look at it. There's a nice shiny stainless steel heaters hanging from the sun down there, so it did a nice job. And we had Ryan Smith from MH Professional Engineering that was overseeing that, and Bernie Beckman from R&B Mechanical, who was doing the work on site for HVAC upgrades. So I'd like to thank them for doing what they said they would do, and anytime there was an issue, they were more than accommodating. So appreciate all their efforts on that. Also under highway, we're required to have DOH backflow preventers. And so we had the inspection done here, I think it was right around May 7th. And again, we had a backflow preventer that failed DOH requirement, which requires a replacement. Peter Olszewski, who is working, also handling buildings and grounds for us, was working with Spectre, and they actually had a proposal to make that repair. And it was from John's Plumbing and Heating Solutions, LLC. And my understanding is that they didn't charge us a lot of labor on it because they were already on site, so we saved money on it. But in his report, he said on Tuesday, May 5th, the company made the rounds to complete annual DOH inspections. We have 6 around town, 2 at RAC, 2 at highway, 1 for each garage, and 2 here at town hall. And as I indicated, that the one at highway was malfunctioning. So he got a quote, and the quote was This would be to replace defective backflow preventer at the old highway garage, replace existing 1.5-inch RPZ backflow preventer with an Apollo lead-free double-check backflow preventer approved by the Town of Monroe Water Department, which Jesse approves. To install union fitting on the new backflow preventer and also test it. And the quote was $1,045. Obviously, because we were out of compliance with DOH, it had to be done right away. So I gave them the agreement to go ahead and do that. And the report will be sent to Department of Health, State Department of Health after that. So another we're correcting down there. And I think that's all I have for highway. Item 6 on the agenda is, I have it as a Monroe Industrial Park project authorization. After talking with the lead on the project today, it turns out that his company has to sign the authorization. It's not the Town of Monroe. However, they do require, as part of the process, a support letter from the town supervisor. So I'm going to give you a little background on what's going on down there. Then I'll be hopeful that the town board is okay with me writing a letter of support, which does not commit the town to anything that's required, so that they can move the process for National Grid. And this is the Monroe Industrial Park LLC. They are, as you recall, there's 2 separate owners in the park, the LLC and Town Monroe. And so the LLC is moving forward to finalize an agreement with a company, Nexamp, for lots 11, 12, and 13, which are now currently owned by the Monroe Industrial Park LLC. And what they want, these are less than ideal lots. They're looking for the ability to put 3 megawatt solar facility down there. As the board is aware, through zoning, that's the only place in the town where you can construct and install commercial solar arrays. Obviously, there's a moratorium in place, so we can't move forward with the approval process, but that's a ways down the road. They anticipate that we'll have a local law in place and the moratorium will be lifted way before it's an issue for them. But they want to get their ducks in a row to get the application in for interconnect with National Grid. So the reason that the town of Monroe is involved is that they would like to buy a lot that we own, which is lot 6. I don't know if anybody's looked at the map, but lot 6 is an ideal location for putting a business basically. So what they need is the 3 lots and our 4th lot to tie into the interconnect. And so they will be coming back to town to negotiate the purchase of that lot in the future. What they need now is, and I'll just run through it here. They are saying that, and this is an email at the time the town had to sign the consent letter, which we don't. He indicated it's understood that per discussions with Nexamp, any and all solar deals done by Nexamp Monroe Industrial Park need to be facilitated one property owner requirement of Nexamp's interconnection process. That's where the town comes in, because it can't be 2 property owners. So that's why they're signing that form. They want work that we're going to be okay and moving forward down the road with that request for an interconnect. The good news is that when this facility is up and running, the town will receive revenue, net revenue, all of that revenue from that facility after they pay their real estate taxes, personal income taxes if they have to do that, and insurance costs. That they're going to structure it, they don't believe that they'll have to pay income taxes on that, but that's going to have to be an agreement with the town and, the company. And, I can't speculate, but I would say we're looking at probably $15,000 a year for that, and plus the revenue from the sale of the lot. And, again, taking advantage of lots that are not ideal for industrial or manufacturing purposes. So if the board's okay with that, I will draft a letter. Who wants to see it before I send it, I'm happy to share it. But they want that to be submitted to the application process that they must do for National Grid through NextAmp. So kind of like a lot of moving parts on it. And the good news is, I can't talk about in detail just yet, is that this project will be geared to providing green energy for at least one prospect that may be before the planning board this month, and a couple others. So all tied together, but this is, the first movement that we've had, and serious movement we've had in 20 years. So we're, especially in these economic times, it's nice to have a little good news, anything to grow our tax base. So if the board's okay with that.
Okay with it?
You need a resolution on that?
Let's do one.
All right, so the resolution, I would suggest is worded that a resolution authorizing the town supervisor to write a letter of support regarding Moreau Industrial Park LLC's project for a joint project NextAmp, would include the existing lots 11, 12, 13 that are owned by Moreau Industrial Park LLC, with the intent for a sale of lot 6 owned by the town of Moreau.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And again, that letter of support does not commit the town to anything. So I like signing letters that doesn't commit us to anything. And again, the purpose of that is NextAmp is telling Moreau LLC that there can only be one owner for that application to National, which is the reason why we had to do that. All right. That's all I have for item 6. Item 7, I have listed as the dog control officer. At the last board meeting, I indicated we received 1 or 2 applications from individuals interested in the dog control position. Since that time, I had a meeting here at Town Hall. The supervisor from the town of Wilton, John Land, and their comptroller came up. They had called me prior to that visit to see if the town of Moreau would be interested in an intermunicipal agreement for dog control. I said, we're very interested if we could benefit from it. And so we had a great conversation. We met for about an hour right here in this room, practicing social distancing. And I'd already had a conversation with their dog control officer. And after the conversation, they decided, because it got a little complicated with a town of Wilton truck showing up in a town of Moreau, it became complicated. So what they did do is agree to allow the dog control officer to contract with the town of Monroe coverage. So I spoke with him today, I got an application, I don't know if it's a complete application, but I got an application from him today. I think a clerk has a copy of it, or parts of it, his application. Anyway, I have it here, I don't know if board members have it. He is the dog control officer for the town of Wilton. He would be happy to, and I want to point out that prior to any possibility of him taking on this position, he had called to offer his assistance free of charge to help us for the past weeks. And he actually has done past week or so. We had something that he took care of for us. So, you know, thank him for that. But he's with a contract very similar to the one that we had with our former patrol officer. And he's willing to do it. Doesn't need a phone. He doesn't need equipment. And he will do it for $12 a month. If the board would like.
That sounds promising. I would.
Yes.
Lacking some information, but.
Yeah, I think when he printed it out, I didn't realize there were back pages on it. But his name's Joshua Vincic. He's lives at 141 Jones Road in Saratoga Springs. He's a retired New York City police officer. And he did that for 16 years. He's been dog control officer for town of Wilton for a number of years as well. So we've got the blessing from the town of Wilton to use him. I spoke with him at length several times over the past week, and you know, with his background, I think he'd be a perfect fit.
Sounds great.
You know, we can continue to move forward seamlessly. I think he'll do a good job for us. My recommendation would be to advise advisor to sign a contract of control services the town of Wilton upon review by the town attorney.
You want to contract?
I'm sorry, with the individual.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it will not be with the town of Wilton. It'll be with the dog control officer.
This is very similar to what the town of Corpus.
Yes. And
How long? the agreement?
so we talked about that, and he said, "No, you're fine." And I said, "Well, how about to make it simple, how about through the end of the year? So we'll do December 3rd. The board's okay with that."
I'm fine.
Okay with that?
Yes.
So we'll have you resurrect the previous contract, make the necessary changes. If the board's okay, I'll entertain a motion to authorize me to sign that contract after review by town council.
So moved.
Second.
And you got the figure there.
I do, I don't have his name right.
Yeah, I'll give that to you after the meeting. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any discussion?
This is a great solution to it.
Yeah.
We had somebody that seemed to really do a great job with the job, with all the experience, you don't have that.
And the other thing is too, you know, if the board, you know, wants to review the applications that we have, like do something, you know, on that. But, you know, this is a immediate fix for something that we need to take care of. And I know the county will be very happy to hear that we have a dog control officer.
It's tough things going on.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think it's great, and I want to thank the town of Wilton for their willingness to work on Monroe to help us solve the thing.
Will we have access to the, we should start it already? I mean, I think there was one issue where there was a.
Yeah, so we will, I think we have 2 outstanding cases or 1?
We, same for line, one.
One, he's aware of it actually. Contact with Alicia, and she brought him up to speed because he has stuff in then. So, and I also had my office give him the past year of dog reports, so he knew exactly what he did. So probably should have done that. Might have scared him off. So we had a roll call on that.
You have, everybody was in favor. And
Okay,
I'll say yes.
all right, so motion carries, any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, thanks. Got a little sidetracked. The next item I have, I think back in March, first week in March, I met with a representative from the Champlain Hudson Power Express project. For those that don't know what this project is, the Champlain Hudson Power Express is a proposed high voltage direct current submarine power cable project that will link Montreal to New York City neighborhood of Astoria, Queens. And this line is expected, I think, to go out to bid in 2021 or 2022. It's been in the works time. It's a venture that's been developed, Transmission Developers Incorporated, or TDI, which is a Blackstone Group LP portfolio company. This project will do is carry clean energy hydro that's generated in Hydro-Quebec and wind power from Eastern Canada and feed it directly to New York City. As we know, New York City is in desperate need of supply for electricity, and it's very challenging to get what's generated, particularly from the North Sea project out in Niagara Falls, down to the city because it's not a DC line. And there's a lot of loss by the time it gets to where it needs to go. And DC behaves a little differently, so it's very efficient getting electricity down there. It's actually so efficient that the line that they're proposing will be buried in the river, and the plane will be this size, 2 inches. And it'll all be underground. And where the town of Moreau comes in is that it will be coming out of the town, out of the river into the town of Moreau, across some town roads. So they need authority to put it underneath the roads. And so they're looking for a resolution from the town board, which will permit that. And the total mileage of the line is 335 miles start to finish, so it's a pretty good size. And one of the things that really piqued my interest in talking with Rick Chase, who is their senior public affairs consultant, is that we'll get real property revenue from it. And using, I think he said 2014 assessment roll, 2015 assessment roll, when the project first started, they were looking at about $340,000 to run it under.
Annual.
Yeah. So, and I think that's for all the towns that in Saratoga County that it goes through. So, at least another source for revenue there. So, Carla, did you have a chance to look at that resolution?
I did look at the resolution. Resolution is fine. The resolution allows you to give them the consent lines.
Right.
But there's also a split. So the resolution says we agree that we're going to be agreement. We're agreeing to agree.
So, is that something that you want a little time on before we take up?
The resolution is still signed. I have an opportunity to look at the actual agreement they sent over.
All right, well, if you're okay with the resolution, does the clerk have a copy of your version? You do have a copy?
I have a copy of the version.
That's the only version I have, the one that these.
Is it filled in with?
It is not filled in. That's it. I mean, what's not filled in is merely that the supervisor. It's just the titles that aren't filled in.
You want to read it in that case? So that would be the clerk.
I can read it.
All right, is that okay?
Sure. The whole thing.
Well, it's only, isn't it 2 pages?
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure, yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Whereas Champlain Hudson Power Express, Inc., including its successors and/or assigns, CHPEI, is developing the Champlain Hudson Power Express project, the project, An approximately 1,000 megawatt underground and underwater high voltage direct current electric transmission facility extending from the United States border with Canada to Queens, New York. And whereas the New York State Public Service Commission has ruled that the project will supply clean, renewable hydroelectricity to New York State and has issued a certificate of environmental compatibility and public need, authorizing the construction and operation of it, including any amendments thereto. And whereas CHEI has discussed the project extensively with the town board of the town of Monroe, as a portion of the project will be located within the municipality and will occupy certain privately and or publicly owned land. And whereas the project will provide significant economic and environmental benefits to New York State and the municipality in the form of lower electric rates, a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, and increased jobs, including local jobs during the project's construction. And whereas the project will provide significant tax or payment in lieu of tax revenue to the Village of South Glens Falls, Town of Monroe, County of Saratoga, and the full district of South Glens Falls during the course of its expected 40 to 60-year operating life. And whereas prior to construction within the municipality, CHPEI will require a road crossing agreement with the municipality that will include at a minimum construction responsibilities and plans, restoration and repair of damage, dispute resolution, bonding, insurance and indemnification provisions. And whereas once the project commences operation, it is not expected to require any services from the municipality. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board is fully familiar with and supportive of the project, including the use and occupancy of privately and or publicly owned land in the municipality. 2, that the board hereby grants its consent to CHPEI in accordance with section 11.3 of the New York State Transportation Corporation's law to lay down and maintain its wires, conductors, conduits, and other fixtures in and out of the streets, avenues, public parks, and all other publicly owned places in the municipality in accordance with the provisions of the certificate. 3, that the board commits the municipality to the taking of further actions if and when reasonably requested by CHPEI and consistent with the law, as may facilitate successful achievement of the project, including without limitation, executing a crossing agreement simply in the form annexed hereto. 4, that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to take all appropriate measures to implement the intent of this resolution, and the town clerk is hereby directed to forward a certified copy here to CHPEI at the Peter Schuyler Building, 600 Broadway, Albany, New York, 2207. 5, that the board approves the included copy of this resolution as a part of any filing made by CHPEI with any governmental body when and required or requested by the same, and the use of the resolution in public statement made by CHPEI regarding host community support for the project. 6, that this resolution shall take effect immediately.
Thank. Someone like to move that motion?
So moved.
Second.
For the resolution for the supervisor to sign, correct? You not need the supervisor. to sign.
Right.
Yeah.
So moved.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. So what we'll do is, if you want, I'll put you in direct contact with Mr. Chase.
Sure.
Just to making sure it's to his satisfaction in the road use crossing agreement can be vetted in more detail
Yes.
before we come back to the board. I know there's still time on this, but he very much wants to wrap up as he goes to different communities along the way, much of it as he can as soon as possible. So,
And then I will give you the film. Thank you. Thank you.
okay. Item 9 on the agenda is the municipal water IMA agreement with the Village of South Glens Falls. As I reported at the last board meeting, this will be an item on on the Saratoga County Water Authority's board meeting. I've already had conversations with the director. It's not going to be a problem. I know council spoke with the village today. Just want to give us a brief update where we are on that.
Sure. I spoke with council for the village, emailed back and forth at the last meeting to ascertain where things stood. She understood where the town was coming from with respect to having to get water. That we are in the process of doing that, and that we were looking to a 6-month agreement with the village. She had emailed me back saying that was fine. When you get me the agreement, we'll do the 6 months, not a problem. I was in contact with the engineer for the town. I was emailing with him today, trying to get all of the new the cost of all that to put into the agreement. Working with the agreement we have with Saratoga County and incorporating that into the agreement with the village. So once Saratoga County gives their approval, we get all of that, we should be able to have it signed. And I believe, Mr. Supervisor, last meeting, you got authority to sign it.
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
So that's where everything's.
Any questions on that? Thank you, Carl. And item 10 is supervisor items, eclectic grouping of different topics to report on. First one is received a letter from Nancy Carrington, who's president of the Historical Society of Monroe in South Glens Falls, regarding Parks Bentley Place and some other activities they had planned for this year. It says, greetings, members and friends. I sincerely hope this finds you safe. I know what a challenge life has become as we work through the COVID-19 pandemic. Parks Bentley has remained closed during this time, of course. As we can see the state reopening in some areas, it remains to be seen whether historic sites, museums, etc. are part of this. As president of the Historical Society, I'm reluctant to put faithful volunteers who work as docents on open days in position of meeting the public. I do not feel it would be to open until at the earliest, the later part of June or July, early July. There's still much work in the house to prepare for opening, moving furniture back into place, cleaning, replacing displays. Please let me know your feelings on this. I pray we can open for the nativity display in November and December. Wide band concert / flag celebration scheduled for June 19th has been canceled as well. A plant sale in early June. I have applied for a grant from Stewards. They are granting nonprofits for lost fundraising opportunities. The dedication to the historical marker has also been postponed. It has been suggested that perhaps we could do some kind of online programs from Parks Bentley. One suggestion was to do our outreach programs, another was to have members record their experiences as a historical society volunteer to put on the website. If you are interested in these or have other ideas, let me please. I send prayers as we continue with social distancing. Sincerely, Nancy Carrington. So, give you an update on what's going on. I did sign the check that we provide to them to help offset some of their operating expenses. And I think they received it this week, last week, this week. So that'll help them a little bit. Just want to give you an update on sewer. At the last board meeting, the board authorized me to sign an agreement engaging the LaBerge Group to complete an application for the Northern Borders Regional Commission to receive the possibility of $10 million in additional funding for a sewer project. They did that like 2 days after I authorized the agreement on behalf of the town. And so we'll keep our fingers crossed on that. Just want to take board and members of the public on what's going on with the sewer project. Continue to move forward. Obviously, with the COVID-19 situation, our approvals with DOH, DOT right-of-ways, things like that. People working from home is going to slow the process down. But I'm talking with Don with the LaBerge Group. He still thinks we're on track for a completion of the project early to mid 2022. If you recall, we were looking at a wrap up in the fall of 2021. So just a little bit of a delay. But the very good news is that if you recall, we authorized a redesign of the system to a low pressure system. And when we did that, the total project cost went from an estimated $16 million down to $14.8 million. And now we're asking for additional $1 million in funding. So those two items, coupled with the fact that we've increased our assessed value, the role hasn't been adopted yet, but it's projected to increase the assessed value in the sewer district, which if you recall, when we put the financials together, was predicated on the fact that we had $54 million assessment. We're going to be adding another $9.6 million to that. And as I have said all along, the greater the assessed value is in that district, the lower the cost will be for the individual users because it'll be able to be spread out more based on the potential for development or actually coming in and causing capital improvements on this property. And a lot of that was attributed to Hudson Headwaters coming online or coming on the tax roll. They're tax exempt, as you know, because they're not for profit, but for the purpose of calculating debt service and sewer fees, they're still considered, a regular property owner for that purpose. We had another $700,000 come on the rolls for a storage unit that came on, that was expanded. And we have some other projects, they won't be coming on to this roll. They certainly will for the next year's roll. So it's all good news for sewer district users, especially with that $1.2 million in savings. We're on track. Where we stand today is LaBerge Group continues to work on right-of-ways. I know they're working with the town attorney on that. We're looking at the best locations for the pump and where to actually put the sewer lines. The water line bounces back and forth on each side of the road. We know that where the cemetery is, there's not enough room in the DOT right away. So we're going to have to look at going back over on the other side of the road, and you have to have 10 feet of space between the water line and the sewer line. So we're working through those challenges. If you drive up and down Route 9, you'll see survey markers out there. So the work continues. We're still on track for the previous schedule to try and get bid documents out for middle of this year. And consider all things considered, the price is going in the right direction, and we're not too far off the mark for completion, so that's not too bad.
Thank you for your perseverance in a time when it's easy to be distracted by other things that are going on.
And it would be easy to say, well, we're all set, we've got it. You haven't said that. You move forward and you continue to look for ways to save money with the cost when it was going to have your way, and you still are trying to do more to make it better for the users.
Right, and I have to thank the board for and it was actually a previous board, but the thought continues with the new board. We had committed to the property owners in that proposed district that we were going to do all we could to reduce their costs. And I think we're holding up our end of the deal on that. We've demonstrated that with additional grant application. We've demonstrated that by re-engineering the project so it doesn't cost so much. And so I think, you know, as far as a good faith effort on our end, we've held up to our end of the deal.
Thank you for your part.
Thanks. So any questions on sewer?
One thing is that I know we allocated funds last meeting to seek these grants. And it was concerning to me that like 3 days later, I read from an article in the paper that the state budget officer said the state of New York State won't be giving out any more grants, or, you know, there probably won't be any more grant money. You know, and that just concerned me because, you know, here we are, and 3 days later, it's like, we don't have any money to give up. Hopefully, they'll find some money somewhere that we'll be able to get these grants. But like I said last meeting, it's worth a shot. You know, anything we can do, like you just said, to reduce the cost of the people in that area. That did concern me when I read that in the paper. It was like days after we allocated the funds, and it kind of got my attention. Hopefully that they can push that thing through and get us something.
So the good news is that's a non-factor because these are federal dollars, so the state can't take it back.
Yeah, I thought we were putting in for two different grants, and one of them is separated by the state, the other state federal, correct?
The northern border is federal dollars.
That's the federal and
Yeah.
the state. But the other one, we were not paying for.
So what I'm referring to is the initial $16 million project. We got $4 million in funding, even though it's, you know, comes through the state, it's actually federal dollars, so that's guaranteed. The state can't pull that back. So we already know we have access to $16 million. We budgeted the project at $16 million. We got $12 million at zero interest for 30 years because of the hardship loan. So we've already got a $1.2 million cushion in there. We're applying for another $1 million from the northern border funding.
And that's federal money.
That's federal money. So.
What about the other one? Did we follow through with the, because it was 2 different grants?
So we authorized, I don't think that's, the application date on that is until midsummer. One of them was like we had to do it, that's why we brought up.
Right, that's why we.
So that was the federal one. So yeah, the other one, they'll be applying for within the next probably several weeks. I believe that's state dollars.
Right. And that's one that concerns me.
Yeah.
If the state dollars aren't there, I hate to see us invest money going after.
Yeah, but that's all icing on the cake, because we've already, not only have we got guaranteed financing, we've got a guaranteed grant. We cut the project by $1.2 million. So we have, you know, we're in good shape financially with that.
Right, and I guess you look at it, and I said, the last meeting is that, you know, sometimes you gotta take that chance and push it, pushing on the envelope, and hopefully we can get something back. And I think it's a good investment, but it did concern me.
Any other questions? So that is sewer. Update. I received an email from Donna Nichols, who is Executive Director of the Monroe Community Center. She's asking if the town would be okay to utilize the old town hall for as part of a mini food distribution for the general public on Thursday, May 28th. She indicates this would be a much smaller scale than the ones the Salvation Army has done, but would help our local community. She also indicates that they have seen a 60% increase in people using the food pantry during the pandemic. And she says it would be ideal if they could set up outside the old town hall. She said they would not need heat or lights turned on, just access to the building for a couple of people. I said I'd bring that to the board. I didn't think that there'd be a problem with that, but obviously the board has to weigh in on that.
Oh, that would be great.
Okay, so I'll let her know that that's not a problem, and she can move forward with that. And it's for a great cause. got this late this afternoon. I have done the supervisor's items otherwise, because it is a resolution, I would have had it listed as a separate agenda item. It's in relation to the resolution that the board passed at the last board meeting authorizing me to sign the letter of engagement with the LaBerge Group to apply for the Northern Borders Grant. But as part of that application, there has to be, as we've done in the past, a formal resolution for that purpose. And I think the clerk has a copy of that.
I do.
Would you like to read that?
Sure. Town of Monroe resolution authorizing the supervisor to apply for and receive funding under the Northern Regional Commission NBRC grant. Whereas the Northern Border Regional Commission is a partnership between the federal government and the states of Maine, New Hampshire, New York, and Vermont. And whereas the mission of the NBRC is to provide investments to job-creating projects that help reduce poverty, unemployment, and out migration. And whereas under said grant program, applicants are required to authorize an official representative to file the application. And whereas the town of Monroe plans to extend sewer infrastructure in the Route 9 commercial corridor to further future economic development efforts. And whereas the town of Monroe is eligible to apply for an infrastructure grant up to $1 million, which must include a 50% local match. And now therefore it is resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized to execute and file an application on behalf of the town of Monroe with the NBRC grant. And be it further resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and designated as the representative and to act as such in connection with the application to provide additional information as may be required, including all understandings and assurances contained in the application. And be it further resolved that the supervisor is hereby authorized and directed to execute any contract and/or agreement with executive's permission to sign any and all NBRC investment documents that bind the town of Monroe. Be it further resolved to the extent all or any actions hereby authorized have been executed and/or performed by the supervisor, all are hereby ratified and confirmed, and this resolution take effect immediately.
Thank you, Leanne. Somebody like to move that resolution?
So
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And again, if I didn't get it, I got the 241 today, we would have had it on the agenda. I just put the agenda out at 2:10. Next item I have under supervisor items, just want to give an update. For some time now, actually for many years now, we've had an issue with high water table down by the development that's on the corner of 197 and 32. And while it's not a town issue, I have been working with the state for I think it's almost 2 years now, trying to get some sort of resolution there. I spoke 2 days ago with the engineer that is handling that for New York State DOT. Obviously, they're on reduced work schedules. I think they only have 30% of their staff in any given day. We've had the springtime, water table is high. You can see the water from the road. And we've looked at the state has looked at many different possible solutions. And every time they investigated, there is no solution. And this individual has spoken with Blue Niels, whom you all know, is helping us with a stormwater situation program here in the town of Monroe. And the only possibility that they have, and they indicate it's not going to be a cure-all because there's less than a 2% grade to get the water from the pipe under 197 down toward the intersection of 32 and 197. 2% grade water doesn't really flow that quickly. So their plan is, whenever they get back to work, is to clean out a ditch going through the woods there toward Selfridge Road. And while that's not going to drain the area, at least give it a place to flow to at the level that it is. So it's not the news that the residents want to hear. They've been pretty vocal about. As I indicated, it's not a town issue, but I have been working to try and help them with that. And I'll continue to work with state DOT on it. Obviously, with the limited staffing they have and the requirement to, not have full staff, we don't know when they can come back and look at it, but that's where they are now as for a possible solution for it. So, just want to update the board on that.
Does that primarily the water that would be affecting the high water table in Gray Fox?
Yes.
I stopped and saw that dry mower today about the water issue on 32
Mhm.
that kind of property dealt with. And he assured me that that is not a closed case, that there's still things that need to be done to alleviate that situation, but that it might take until near fall to get that taken care of. But he is also assured me that he will not sign off on that until things are in better condition down there.
Right, yeah, I've been in contact with the neighbors in that area. And, I don't know, letting them know what's going on.
Good. Thanks.
That's not new though.
No, it's, I can remember being an issue 2 administrations ago.
I lived at White Birch Estates in 1978, had a large dog, used to walk that dog over in that field that's now that development. There came a point that they started digging holes in that development. I remember thinking, these people aren't going to have dry basements, because as you looked in those holes as you walked around, and that's a dry, sandy area, there was a considerable amount of water in the base in those holes. So it's not new, it's been there 40 years.
Right, and if you recall, I think you were on the board.
Yes,
we had
I was first on the board then.
hydrogeologist came in because there were a lot of unhappy neighbors in that area and finger pointing going on. So we brought professionals in at the cost to the town, and they pretty much indicated that it's, the town has no culpability, and it's basically happens in nature in that location due to the type of soils it is and the historic high water mark. So, it's very unfortunate that those folks have to be faced with that. But, there's not an ideal solution.
No, it's in a lot of parts of Monroe. I know people in Cicero and people on.
Right.
I deal with it all the time.
Yeah.
It's this area drains to the Hudson, so we're kind of like.
Right. Tried being on the other side of 197 where it's all heavy clay.
What a mess that is.
So that's one update. I already talked about this one. Peter received communication from Carol Alden. Everybody knows Carol, who her husband is a town justice here. And she reached out to Peter to inquire about the possibility of donating a bench and a tree at the rec park in memory of a loved one who has recently passed away. I thought it was an awesome idea. I told Pete to let her know that I thought it was a great idea and thank her for her extreme generosity in doing something like that. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it, but I think
it's great.
Yes.
Nice gesture.
Yeah, so I will give him the green light on that.
Great.
Everybody's okay with that. Next item I have, supervisor items, is I just want council to give a brief update. As you know, we have 2 moratoriums in place. One's on multi-family housing, the other is on solar in in the town of Monroe, we have moratoriums that are, clock is ticking on, get those issues addressed for the end of the moratorium period. I know council's been working, I think with NYSERDA and others, including myself, to try and formulate a draft that we can get to the board for review and comment, input. So I'll just have her give a brief update to the board.
Sure. The moratorium will end August 30th. So I know that sounds like a long ways away, but we'll know now how fast time really does go. So in order to move this forward and not have to extend the moratorium again, because I know that is not what the town board wants to do. Jim Martin and I have been working on both the solar law and the multifamily housing law. The solar law draft should be to the supervisor by Friday, to give to everybody. The solar law, the budget, as you all know, the budget has, the state budget has a whole new renewable energy portion of it. A new law was passed having to do with 25 megawatt, have to go through this siting process. It's supposed to be quicker than the regular process, but it also removes pretty much all local control. There are some tweaks in it. The law got a little better as it went through the budget process, but it's still, there's some concern. So Jim and I were talking today about how we can work through our law with those concerns. With respect to the multifamily law, same thing. Jim and I were chatting. We went through the zoning code earlier this morning, just to make sure we have all of our pieces of how we're going to present it. I have a memo that's halfway done that's going to go to you folks, talk about the changes that we had in the multifamily law. So I anticipate having these to the board within the next, everything to the board within the next few weeks. It's local law. Local laws have to go to public hearing. You know, we're kind of in a weird state now where they don't really want you to have public hearings, but you can have them on virtual public hearings if you want to. So we have to play around with the timing for that because that will take about a month or so to, once you approve the language of the draft, then it takes about a month to get it done. So they're moving along. I have an email out to Jennifer at NYSERDA today to chat with her some more. I did not get an email back by the time of this meeting, but we are in contact. So that's kind of where things stand right now.
Okay, good. Thank you for that update, Carla. Another item I have under supervisor items, Pete received a call, I think it was today, maybe yesterday. Can't remember, it's all blurred, but the principal of the middle school inquired about the possibility of having a graduation parade through our recreation park, whereby kids would drive through in cars, their parents' cars, teachers and staff would be parked along the side of the road in cars or next to their cars, maintaining social distancing. You know, then in the early stages, before you got too far, you want to know what the town thought about that. And I said I'd bring it to the town board for discussion. So I don't know how the board feels about that. My feeling is that, you know, if they're in vehicles and they're moving, it's a great idea for them to see their teachers before school's out, one last time before summer begins. It's a great gesture on the part of Southland Falls Central School District, but you know, that's just my opinion.
I think if they maintain the point of social distancing, since that's what we're expected to do right now, I think it's a great idea. So many of these drive-by things that have happened though, people stop and they get out and they, you know, they run over to people or they do, I don't understand that part of the whole drive-by. It's a drive-by, you don't stop. So if they can maintain, get that message out there, like, because we don't want that on our watch, I guess, where we're trying to maintain it as a municipality or a local government, and then all of a sudden we've okayed this, and it seems to appear as if it's not that big of a deal if we don't follow the rules, but it is a big deal right now, even if some people personally don't believe that it is something we need to follow. So I think it's a great idea. if the message that we would like to maintain the idea of social distancing thing, it moves, it doesn't stop, so someone can get out and hug their favorite teacher because they just don't care, you know, and they need to hug that person. Well, that really can't happen, and we got to keep this moving. So it's a great idea.
Well said, I agree.
Everybody else?
I'm okay with it.
Okay. All right, well, I'm not saying, I don't think they're so far along that it's definite, but before they start getting into the logistics of it, they just wanted to make sure that they weren't wasting their time. So I will report back to Peter on that. The last item I have under supervisor items, and actually the town clerk brought it to my attention. She has been in contact with one of the commissioners of the Board of Elections in Saratoga County regarding the upcoming Democratic primary, which I believe may be held again. And the commissioner had expressed his concern that, you know, because of social distancing and all that, it may be difficult to find poll workers and everyone that's needed to run an election. And as everyone knows, we have 3 polling places in town, 4 polling places. And one of the items that came up was the possibility of maybe only having 1 because it's a primary. I think, you know, there's not a whole lot of people involved in the primary. There probably won't be a large turnout to have it at 1 location. And I think, did he ask if he wanted to, there was a possibility of using town hall or?
He asked what our thoughts would be,
To use town
if
hall.
we might be able to use town hall as the one polling place.
So the question would be, is the town okay with 1 polling place? And also, would we be willing to open up town hall for that purpose?
What is the alternative?
Firehouse and 4 polling places, 3 other polling places.
Yeah, so maybe condense those 4 places and have 1 polling place out of the mix of those 4.
Yeah,
Everything's really up in the air right now, and I think they're just looking for ideas and suggestions and possibilities from our town board, you know, if it moves forward like that.
Are the schools still considered the polling places?
so 2 schools or 2 elementary schools are used for polling place and middle school.
Middle school.
Yeah, so
And I'm just curious because, and I don't know the details on this, but I know the restrictions that have been placed on schools for who they can allow in right now are pretty strict. So I don't even know if that's even an option
yeah,
at this point. I mean, staff members aren't even allowed in. To go into a school, the custodian essentially has to follow your tracks and sanitize every inch of where you were in the building. So that's why they're not allowing anybody in buildings right now. So I wonder if schools are even an option.
Okay.
I mean, if we have regular cleaning going on here and we are not on the special list of prohibited places, I'm okay with town hall being used, but again, with the idea of social distancing.
well, obviously we'd have to follow the guidelines by Board of Elections.
Right.
We would just be giving them the okay to use the facility, and then they would have established protocol, whatever that may be.
And they'll figure it out with schools as well. So I guess if we're just one more additional option for them to have, I'm okay with it.
Does that help you?
It does.
Okay.
So the only hitch in the works would be that there's a board meeting scheduled for that night, so we would have to move.
So that's June 23rd?
Yes.
All right, so in the May or 1st of June, we can schedule, well, we'll wait and see what's going on.
Right.
As we get closer, we'll just move the board meeting.
Okay.
Or cancel.
No.
Good. That's all I had for supervisor items. Item 11 on the agenda is committee reports. Anybody have a committee report? No? Okay. Does anyone have anything else for the open session? If not, entertain a motion to adjourn, and thank everybody for coming.
So moved. Thank you, everyone.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. And thank the public for watching.